Hello there, welcome back to another episode of Arcade with Alvin, where today we're going to be cooking all the meat combo meals from Monster Hunter Wilds. Now, cooking is a pretty essential part of the game, I'd say, and one of the most delicious things I've seen on a screen in many months. Somehow that little cutscene of just popping open your little portable grill, cooking some meat and some other things, covering it in a pan, stabbing it with the fork, eating it, and just smiling seems to be just amazing. So we're gonna go and replicate that today. Now the meat, from what looks like in the game, has some marbling in it, it's got some fat, and to me that kind of looks like pork belly or pork steak. Something in the middle. I decided to go with pork shoulder steak, skin on and deboned. This should give a good mix between lean and fat meat, and also give us some nice marbling and fat between all those nice pieces of meat that we have. I'm going to take this, first I'm going to score it at the top to make sure that we have indents for when we slice it into steaks later. Then we're going to season this with a blend of salt, pepper, wild herbs, and monster chili, which are dried parsley and chili flakes that we actually used on our giant prime rib video. Once the meat is seasoned nice and evenly, this is going to go onto a little rack on a tray and go into the oven to cook until 135 in the middle. I aimed for about 275 degrees Fahrenheit. We're going to go for more of like a reverse sear on this one as well. Alright, once that comes out and cooled relatively well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this in saran wrap multiple times and do like a twisting technique used in dishes such as beef Wellington. You're going to give more of like a round, tight shape in case any of the meat kind of came loose during the cooking process. After this goes in the fridge to set and chill and cool down, I'm going to take this out, slice this into about 1-inch thick steaks, and yeah, this looks pretty good. Looking at the cross section, looks like something very similar to the game. Pink meat, nice fat, pretty good. Okay, now the cooking in the game works for this is you usually put down a base, you have like an add-on, and you have a finishing touch. And so we've gathered a good amount of those ingredients that you can get. First, I'm going to slice our Kanafa cheese, both regular and sharp. I kind of went for a melty one, so I went for Gouda and provolone. I think this gives a good balance between meltiness, gooiness, and sharpness, because in the game that cheese looks delicious. I'm going to cut these into really nice thick wedges here, because I don't think in the game you're going to hold back on this kind of food. Have some mushrooms, also accompanied by mud shrimp, some cabbage, some honey, and some other seasonings. Okay. Once those mushrooms are cut up, I want to give you guys a look at the pork steaks that we extracted from our shoulder. They should serve as a really good base ingredient to first cook everything else with, and I think they look like the perfect doneness for cooking additionally, because they're not fully cooked, but they're not completely raw. Okay, so at the end of our previous video where we made that giant prime rib from Monster Hunter, I mentioned that we had an idea for using the leftover meat, and this is it. So this is the leftover chilled prime rib. After we took home some leftovers, there's about 2 bones left of meat on this guy. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this right in half, and wow, that is a beautiful cross section. You know, it's already cold at this point. It's not that fresh, juicy prime rib that we had before, but I thought this would be a fun way to kind of reuse it and incorporate it back into this meat combination as well, because it does have a very similar and good blend of lean meat and fattiness. So after taking the big steak off of the bone and giving the bone to either a dog or Tony, we have a very thick slab of ribeye steak that's pretty much almost all the way cooked that we're going to reheat later. That one I think I'll save for last, because that one's a special one. There are some extra fat chunks on these that people usually never eat, so I'm actually going to go ahead and remove those and use them as our fat to cook the meat instead. Kind of cook it in itself, rather than having to use extra oil. Even though in the game, wild seed oil is an ingredient. I think this would just taste better. Okay, now we are going to take all of these prepared ingredients and go outside to make a fire. Rachel built this lovely fire for us, and this time we're going to be using a grate on top because we're going to be cooking in a cast iron skillet. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to use a couple of those beef tallow chunks from earlier, melt that down. I'm going to put down 2 pork steaks, season them a little bit with some salt and pepper, and this combination I'm going to add in mushrooms this time. Once that's all in, this gets a finishing touch of monster chili or chili flakes. Just like the game, we're going to go ahead and cover this, whistle a nice tune off camera, wait for it to cook. Just give it like a couple of minutes, flip this, admire the nice sear we have on the pork, and really admire the golden brown sear we have on those mushrooms, and let that cook for just a little bit longer until we're confident everything is cooked through. Raw meat would be a pretty big debuff. Okay, this is just gonna hit this with a little bit more seasoning one more time, and yeah, this first combination of meat, mushrooms, and monster chili is done. We're gonna bring this inside, let it rest for a couple of minutes, just like the game. I'm gonna just go ahead and stab it with a knife, whole steak. And yeah, this is pretty good. Let's be a little bit more, pragmatic and cut a piece off and eat it with some mushrooms. Yes, Rachel likes it. This is a very good combination. You can't really go wrong with some seared fatty meat, some mushrooms to absorb all that flavor, and a hint of chili on top to give things a little bit of a boost. This is going to go onto our snack plate for everybody else in the studio, which will probably get a little bit larger by the end of this video. On to the next combination. Alright, next up, we're going to go ahead and sear our pork steaks, season again, salt and pepper. This time, our add-in is going to be mud shrimp, which is a shrimp. I'm guessing it's just shrimp. I don't want to put the mud in there. I don't think that would taste very good. And our finishing touch will be wild herb. So we chose dried parsley, a nice green color to kind of complement the brown and the pink. Again, same as usual, sear, flip, cover, everything looks pretty good. Finish it off with a little bit more seasoning, a little bit more wild herb, which is, funnily enough, because of the heat of the flame, is actually flying upwards every time I drop it into season. It is like an anti-gravity skydiving chamber in here, for the parsley at least. So I'm having to forcefully almost throw it down for it to land correctly. Yep, this one looks pretty good. Let's take a bite. Good looks, good textures. Gave Tony a little bite off the knife. He likes it. Gave Nico a little bite. Very good surf and turf combination. Simple, to the point. Pork goes well with shrimp if you cook it like this. Alright, the next combination. Pork steak down, some seasoning. We're not going to add in the ingredients just yet. I want to sear and flip this first because this one, our add-in, is going to be the kanafa cheese. I chose Gouda for the first round because if we just put that on the raw pork, I don't think that would taste very good. Cover that, let that melt, get nice and gooey. And then our finishing touch is some Eastern honey, which is honey that I used with my right hand, so it's on the east. We're going to drizzle that in, get it nice and caramelized, and take that off. This is probably one of my favorite combinations that I've been looking forward to ever since seeing the clips in the game. It's really nice how the honey starts to caramelize on the really hot cast iron pan, almost like a slightly charred flavor, which does go pretty well with the meat. I like this one. Cheese and honey goes together, and if you think it's a little bit weird on meat, I would suggest thinking about a charcuterie board and reevaluating what that is. Let Tony try this one. Yeah, he really likes this. It's gonna go on to the snack plate. Let's move on to the next combination. Okay, this one. Pork steak down, sear it, season it. We're gonna add in some wild mushrooms. And this time use the sharp kanafa cheese, which is our provolone. This is gonna get nice and melty. It melts a little bit better than the Gouda in my opinion. We're gonna top this with a finishing touch of some wild herbs. A very delicious looking meal. There's not too much to say, but whoever the Monster Hunter animators are clearly had some really good source material to draw from. I would not be surprised if they had a chef cook this right in front of them as they were working hard on their drawing pads. Very cheesy and delicious bite, especially with the mushrooms. Maybe it's just me, but something I love about mushrooms is that if you sear them and eat them with meat, you just get that extra burst of flavor than if you just had them on their own. I really like this one. And pork steak, at least pork shoulder, seems to be the best cut for any of these, as it's a nice balance of lean meat and fattiness. Really complements all the ingredients we're throwing in here. Okay, our next combination is going to be pork steak down, season, sear it again, get a nice flip, get some nice color. And then we're going to crack in 2 fluffy eggs. I'm not really sure why in the game they call them fluffy eggs because they just look like eggs, but maybe the game has really extra fluffy eggs for some reason, or maybe that's just a serving suggestion. So we're gonna follow that. Finishing touch will be chili flakes. Look kind of like something you just make on a Sunday morning, a brunch dish you might have at a restaurant, with things that they had lying around from the day before that hopefully won't make you sick. Anyways, we're gonna cut the yolk open, use that almost as a sauce to spread across our meat and eggs, and yeah, this is very solid, very energy boosting meal. Lots of protein in here, which I do enjoy. Okay, move off to the snack plate and let everybody peck at it while we go with our last combination. Actually, our second to last. This time we are going to use the prime rib cut from earlier. This is probably the one I have been the most excited for. Take this giant ribeye. That's pretty much all the way cooked, just medium rare. And you're going to sear that down. And on one side, because we have so many ingredients left over, I'm going to throw in mushrooms. And on the other side, the rest of our mushrooms that have been cut up. I'm going to give that a really good sear. Flip it. Admire that nice crust that we got all the way through. And this time, we're going to use our sharp kanafa cheese to kind of put on the top. I kind of wanted to see what almost all of the ingredients that we could use would taste like together. And this is our kind of ultimate version. I don't think the game allows you to do this, but we are in real life and I can do what we want. Okay, after covering this and giving it a little bit of extra time to let that cheese nicely melt, go ahead and season this again. melt a little bit more, and finish with some Eastern honey, letting that sizzle a little bit before adding our final finishing touches of wild herb and monster chili in the same time. Now this looks really fun. This is kind of one of those to share dishes, maybe for 2 or for 4 that you could order at a restaurant, because it kind of has everything and you could probably make 10 different bites out of what's in here. It also kind of reminds me of something you might order at a steakhouse without the cheese and everything, because you have steak, got mushrooms, and you got your surf and turf with the shrimp on the side. Now, if you probably ate this in the game, it might give you every single buff available, which I think is a good thing. Maybe they should make this like an ultra S tier meal that you could cook once every 10 hours. Anyways, I think it's delicious. Good cross section, eat it with the mushrooms and stuff. Yeah, this is a great bite. It's a fun way to reheat leftover steak if you have a really thick one, and definitely made the prime rib a little bit more exciting compared to just eating it normally. It does need a little bit more salt because the meat is quite thick. Let's go ahead and make sure everybody else gets a chance to enjoy this creation. Yeah, this is also this is a good one. We're gonna move that onto our snack plate. Okay, so we've done a lot of meat for every single combination meal so far, but in the game, instead of meat, you can also do fish or vegetables, which in this case uses a giant wedge of cabbage. So we're gonna get some beef fat melted down. You sear a whole giant chunk of cabbage, making sure to treat it like a piece of meat. Salt it, flip it, admire the nice sear across those little squiggles. And then for the topping on this one, for a more vegetarian friendly one, we're gonna go for some Kanafa cheese along with the honey. So first the cheese goes down, we're gonna cover that, let that melt. And because this is the end of our day and the fire has kind of gone down a bit, we're gonna take off the grate. We're gonna put the cast iron directly on the coals themselves, just to get some more heat through. Then we're gonna drizzle some Eastern honey, admire the nice cheesy caramelized edge bits, which I think are my favorite part. And Rachel is going to be taste testing this one, as I'm very, very, very full at this point. As you can tell by her dance moves, she loves this one, and after tasting it, I tend to agree. The cabbage with the beef fat after you cook it down goes really well with cheese and honey, and even though it doesn't have the fortification that a meat dish might have, I can see why this dish might give you a good buff before you go into combat. Okay, let's make sure to take all of our leftovers from our snack plate, pack these up into little meal preps to go, and we're gonna have buffs for the rest of the week if we make sure to eat these off cooldown.